Welcome back, everybody. This is Rodrigo Fondor with another episode of Asheville Real Estate News. Really excited to talk today with our guests. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of the structure, the framework that needs to be put in place to take that next step. When I first started, for instance, you just start running, and you get to a point where you're doing enough to feel that you believe in what you're doing. And then that next step is when you start systemizing, putting frameworks in place to really take a big jump forward. So today we're joined by Blake Simons, who's a business development coach here at KW South.
Yep.
Man, thanks so much for jumping on the show.
It's great to be here. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Before we even get into the real estate stuff or anything like that,
Sure.
Like, who are you? How'd you end up in Asheville? That's always an interesting story.
So I'm a native,
Okay.
per se. I mean, I moved here when I was about 10 years old, and actually moved not far from this office into South Asheville, and I've been here ever since. I grew up with a fly rod in my hand, and so I consider myself an Asheville boy.
I would say if you've been here since 10 years old, that would definitely count as being local.
It's pretty much what I know. So
No doubt.
I have fleeting memories of the previous years.
Where was before? Where'd you move from?
So my family, we started in eastern North Carolina, which
Okay.
is where most of my family's from. We moved down to Florida, and at around 10 years old, we moved to Florida for like 2 or 3 years, and I think I started complaining about the heat the minute that we crossed the line. And
No doubt.
then, like, after 4 years of tenacious complaining, my mother finally said, "Okay, fine, we'll go back to North Carolina, but we're going to go to this place called Asheville because there's a lot of people that are talking about Asheville." So,
And you're still here. Yeah, this place is sticky like that.
I mean, it's everything you could want, right?
Agreed wholeheartedly. So you moved here when you were 10 years old, and when did you get the real estate bug? When did you get into the business, and was it always in the role that you are now, or?
Yeah, so I mean, my attraction to real estate really grew in the investment side primarily, but I mean, I've always been the type of person that I love to take things and make them beautiful.
Right.
I love to develop and I love to grow things. And so I think as a young child, working with my mother, we moved into new places and we'd go fix up the yard or we'd fix up the house or something like that. And I think that that's really my earliest, my fondest memories of my early childhood is kind of making things better with real estate. And so as I got older, I got into the investment side of things and I was looking at stock investing and mutual funds and all the
typical stuff,
all the stuff that's on the screen every day. And then I started realizing that there's this kind of subset of really intelligent people that are doing very well by investing in real estate, but they don't really make a big deal out of it. They don't really shout it from the rooftops. It's more like our secret sort of thing. So, but within that paradigm, I could take properties and make them nicer.
Yeah.
And so that really, I think that's where it started.
Yeah, there is something about it being said. I'm not a very handy person, but even just doing projects, it's really cool to walk through the door of a house day one. And you're like, oh my goodness, what did I just do?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, when a project's come to completion, it's very gratifying. It's fun.
It's absolutely gratifying. And furthermore, helping others to kind of see that. I think that's been my greatest kind of achievements is when I buy a house and I get that, "What have you done, Blake?" stare from my family and friends, and they're like, and then about 2 or 3 months later, I walk back through the property and they're like,
"Whoa!"
They just got a whole new lease on the property, and so it's seeing that sort of metamorphosis, not only in the property but also in the minds and opinions of people. I think it's a really gratifying thing.
Well, let's talk about that. That's a really good tie into what you do now, right? So you're doing business development.
That's right.
So let's just talk about the basic component of what coaching is, and how would you describe coaching as an overall concept to somebody who's not familiar with it?
I mean, coaching is what you would expect out of coaching, whether you're coaching a football team, whether you're coaching a a swim club or whether you're coaching somebody in their business, you take somebody that has a desire to do something well and you teach them how to do it. I mean, that's more or less the basic framework. Now, as a coach, what you have to have perspective on is the fact that there are certain things that work and certain things that don't work, and you want to do it within a certain structured way so that you can be not only most efficient with your time, but realize the most gains the quickest. And so that's really what we try to focus on with our coaching programs, is getting people set into the right standards so that they can ultimately take their business to whatever level they want to. Really, our framework provides for a $2 million producer all the way up to a $15 million producer. We're all using the same pattern. So what we do is we coach within that framework on the real estate side.
And when people are getting started, real estate's I was going to use the word cutthroat, but it's, it can be a high turnover business, right?
Sure.
There's a lot of things that happen right off the bat.
Right.
And, whether you're on the agent side or on the investor side, I've only, never been an agent, so I don't know, but you always hear that as like, is it 3 years, right? That like X amount of people drop out and
the attrition rate usually happens within the first couple years. And we see a large majority of agents that kind of go silent in that time.
And what is that? Do you all have any, I know with KW you guys have a lot of data, but is there anything that you have found to attribute to that as far as?
Yeah, so what we've decided attributes to that is, number one, agents don't feel like they're a part of something. They feel like they're kind of lone guns out there doing their thing, and sink or swim, I got to make this. And hey, everybody runs out of motivation, right? Everybody has those days where it's like, why am I going through all this pain, So we number one, believe in our sense of community and our sense of kind of helping each other out and keeping each other accountable to what we said that we wanted to do when we were at the top of our spirits, And then number two is absolutely having the right business systems to plug into your activity, because as well as I do, this is not a business that lacks the ability to find active things to do. You can go make yourself busy all day long chasing your tail.
No doubt.
So what you have to do is you have to kind of very clearly help folks to understand, okay, this is going to make you money. This is probably not going to make you money. And if you want to go do this side, that's cool.
Just understand the trade-off.
You're not going to make money doing it. And so,
no, that's super interesting. We mentioned about the tools versus the community aspect of it. I think, I got tied into the Real Estate Investors Association here when I got started. And that was a huge part that created like accountability. I was like, show up to these things, you tell people you're going to do them. And then if you want to keep showing up, and you kind of have to start performing.
That's right.
And that always pushed me along. So say I'm a new agent and I'm here at that 2 million level, right? Just getting started. What does it look like to the program that you all are running here? What sort of tools and tips and tricks do you guys get into to help somebody take that next step?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. We don't really look at them as tips and tricks. If you're thinking about tips and tricks, maybe we show people the most efficient way to do things that's going to give them the maximized return on their time and effort. But really what we're looking at is getting them set up, because not a lot of people understand the process of real estate. You show up at the front door and you have this expectation that we have waiting lines in these offices with people holding numbers waiting to buy or sell a house in the front lobby.
It's not like that.
Simply not like that. You know that well.
Right.
This is a business for the go-getters. And so what we first have to show people is how to be a go-getter, but how to be a go-getter consistently. And how to deliver a consistent message so that you can grow your presence within the community. Because we find that if with any of our top producing agents, they're not necessarily producing off of business that walks in the front door. No. They're producing off of business that they consistently go back to, and they farm their existing sphere of influence. And so what we do is we first, with our new agents, work on helping them to establish a system of engagement with the people that they may already know. Then we teach them how to add to that group of people with legitimate value added sort of propositions, not just, hey, I want to sell you real estate. You want to give something to people.
Right.
When you're asking you're asking for a huge transaction in their
Yeah.
life. You're asking for a lot of money at the end of the day.
And emotion, right?
Absolutely.
I think that was one of the things that surprised me the most is how much emotion is involved in a house or a property, and it definitely can't be understated.
No, it cannot. And one of the things that I teach to my agents is emotions are going to happen. You're going to have those fallouts. They're going to have those clients that just they become basket cases when you're getting buyer's remorse and all that stuff. And typically what I try to do and what I try to teach my agents to do is kind of set the expectation up front that, hey, listen, this is going to be an emotional process. If you're an emotional person, I am the professional that's here to kind of guide the ship. I'm going to leave the emotional decisions up to you. I'm going to let you think about them. I'm going to let you pray about them. I'm going to let you go through whatever process you need to go through to process the decisions. But at the end of the day, I'm going to present you with numbers. And if they match the numbers, I'm going to give you the green light. Yeah. If they don't match the numbers, then I might tell you this isn't the best idea. But if you want it, it's, nobody can put a value on that.
That is
so
true.
there's a lot of, there's a lot of pitfalls when it comes to the emotional aspect that I try to teach my agents to just circle around right out of the gate by saying, listen, I'm a professional, I'm not a counselor.
Right. Although sometimes it seems like you have to wear both hats, I'm sure.
You really do. I mean, it's kind of it's kind of misleading to say that you would never have to deal with that. But
Have you noticed anything you said, teach somebody how to be a go-getter consistently.
Yeah.
That's a skill set from what you just said.
Absolutely it is.
How do you develop that as a skill set? Like, what are things
consistency and accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I don't think anybody, takes their first steps and is the most tenacious, maybe the most annoying of us are. But I mean, it's a very rare breed of person, I should say, that just is absolutely self-motivated every single day and wakes up with that drive in their heart, not being able, and furthermore, being able to kind of slough off the bad stuff.
Yeah.
We put people through personality tests here at KW to kind of figure out what kind of person you are before we start. And the beautiful thing about these personality tests is that they teach us how to coach you.
Right.
And so it's great because if I know that you're this one type of personality, I'm going to give you a whole different set of information. I'm going to give you the same information, but within a whole different package. And it's going to provide you with the ease of introduction that you need for your personality type. So, but really it all comes back to hitting it every single day and understanding that what really has to happen is you have to get over that hump, okay? There's always a hump. The real estate mentality is this. I'm out of school, I'm out of class, I'm really, really good, and then the business starts. And I gotta ride down here for a second, and then I start to slowly climb, right? What we want people to have when they come into KW is we want them to have that consistency of at least emotion that they know that what they're doing today is going to build into something tomorrow.
What's the timeline? I've always heard for at least what I do, it's like typically 90 days. So anything I do today, the benefit of it will be 90 days.
That's exactly right.
Is it that's comparable timeline?
That is a very comparable timeline. You run into the, hey, I want to buy cash tomorrow people every once in a while, and most of the time, truth be known, I mean, if you are engaging the right people early, you can have a 90-day to 6-month timeline, we tell new agents. But if you're working with somebody that's just thinking about moving to Asheville in 2 years, whatever, I mean, that's going to be a 2-year plus timeline. Yeah. The thing that you have to understand is that person's probably going to move to Asheville in 2 years and they're probably going to buy with somebody. Do you want to be the person that's representing
worth
them?
That 2 year?
Well, you've got to find a way. You've got to find a way. And those are the systems that we teach for folks is how to tactfully stay involved in people's lives so that they're not necessarily looking at you as this salesperson that wants to just do this. You want to become a friend. You want to become a confidant. Like I said, this is a very big purchase, so you want to make sure that you're engaging people in a tactful way.
maybe like the harder skill set that you see if people struggle with learning, and maybe what's the easiest that somebody
The hardest skill set that anybody struggles to learn with is coming in, showing up, and doing it every day.
Just do it day in and day out.
That is the hardest skill set.
What's the easiest?
The easiest is just putting stuff in the systems that we already have in place. I mean, we have a plethora of tools for folks to do their business with. We have all the access to all the best stuff that's going to keep you on giving value to your clients over and over and over again. So that's really a no-brainer here. You don't have to think about that. You just have to use the tool. The business is still the same, though. It's a business of showing up and doing it every single day.
Yeah. The everyday part, I'm sure, is key.
It is. Absolutely.
Always, talking about how you get lucky sometimes, right?
Yes, for sure.
And that if you're not there in that moment, then somebody else would get lucky. And so it's all about, I can't remember the quote off the top of my head. It's like preparation and opportunity meet, and that's what like luck is, or
exactly.
Something like that.
Hard work and preparation will beat luck any day of the week. But the thing is that to your point, luck is a thing, right? You every now and again you get this call because you just happen to be the person that popped up on their web server or whatever. That's hey, I want to buy this house for cash next week.
Like I play soccer a lot, right? But sometimes we say sometimes it's just better to be lucky than good.
That's right. And but the thing is that unless you were on the field playing, you'd never be lucky.
That's true.
And that is the key for understanding for most folks is that you don't get lucky sitting around your house in your underwear all day. It's just you get lucky when you show up and you put on the I got an agent in the office here. He's got a great attitude, and his whole deal is look good, feel good, play good. And he was a kicker for a large for the boilers, I believe, Boilermakers. Anyways. Yeah. He was a kicker for a college team, and he's got that kind of drive mentality. Exactly. And his whole thing is showing up, putting on the suit, and getting out there, because literally that is how you get lucky. Yeah. And then over time, if you consistently get, dig in and try to do the best that you can do, you're going to be building a sphere of people that understand you as the rainmaker, that understands you as the business maker for that business. Yeah.
The ripple effect starts to catch up.
That's exactly right. And so what happens is as that grows, they circle around, and eventually you've got a really good mass of contacts, people that can keep a business alive. But it takes time and it takes tenacity, man. Yeah. One of my favorite quotes, and I forget what the guy's name is, but it's ambition is the pathway to success, but tenacity is the vehicle that we arrive in.
That is a good one.
And that's exactly the way that I teach my business, is that you don't have to be annoying, you don't have to be obnoxious, but you have to be tenacious.
No, that's a good word. Blake, so obviously, there's a lot of people who are interested in real estate right now and who are seeing the market. And I know I'm kind of switching gears here a little bit, putting you on the spot a little bit. But how do you think things are shaping up? And from your perspective, obviously you've got a really good feel with working with so many different agents and so many different levels of business. So it's probably a really good insight to where are we, where are we going, how are things panning out?
Well, I was telling one of my agents the other day that, for lack of a better description, sellers have had the name your price tool for the past several years. I mean, ever since the bust, number one, the bust overcorrected the market, right? It brought us way too far down, and some would argue that because of the shadow inventory and foreclosures and things like that, it adjusted accordingly. But simple fact of the matter is that the math shows that we went wheels up hardcore there for a few years. And now what we've had is we've got this kind of history of sellers feeling like, oh, I've just got so much appreciation happening every single year, and we can if that house down the street sold for $100,000, and I can probably get $105,000 for mine next year because this is the way that it's working. Well, that's not the way the business cycles work, and everybody that kind of is on the inside of real estate understands that one of the key driving factors is the fact that interest rates have been so low for so long. And now interest rates are starting to rise. Yeah. And what that simply means is that buyers cannot afford to buy as much house as they could in the past.
Right.
And so you've got sellers that are out here with these high expectations still being met head on by buyers that are like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's not going to work for me. I'm not going to buy a 1962 brick rancher not updated for $250,000. I'm sorry. You know? So, I mean, I think that the influx of people into our specific, when you're talking about real estate, you're talking about hyperlocal markets.
Right, of course.
So when you talk about Asheville real estate, specifically town of Asheville real estate, I think we've got so much presence in the greater, broader world that we're going to continue to see, a good appreciation, or at least, stabilizing.
Yeah.
I think +1%, +2% maybe year over year. We're going to keep seeing those kinds of appreciations. But when you're talking about the broader communities, and especially, one of the things that one of the monsters in the closet that nobody really talks about around here is the fact that before like the 90s, the way that the houses were built and the codes and the specifications that they built these houses to, I mean, they're just simply not modern.
No.
You got a lot of stuff out there that can be really challenging for a buyer to kind of digest
Just
in the
get
process.
comfortable with, yeah.
And so, the second piece of it is we go through this home inspection and the buyer's like, oh my gosh, why would I put myself in all of this ambiguity, all of this danger when I can go buy a new build, or even more dangerous for our business, I can go rent this brand new apartment for X amount of dollars until I figure it out, right? So what we're going to have to find is kind of this equilibrium of buyer expectation and seller expectation, and I think that that's going to work itself out over the next year, 2 years. I think that this whole there's going to be a crash, I don't think that that's likely. But I think that there's got to be an explanation. There's got to be different conversations that are happening between you and listings or potential listing clients that says, hey, listen, this is a reasonable expectation for this property. This is what we're experiencing right now. If you want to get it sold,
this is the number.
This is the number.
Right.
If you want to put it on the market, this is the number, and I'm not the right guy for you. You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's a level of professionalism.
Absolutely. No, that's super helpful. Last question on that. So if you were looking to buy a house, would you buy now, or would you wait a couple months to see if things slow down or
I'm always
correct
buying.
A little bit?
I'm always buying.
Well, if the price is right, I mean, like primary homeowner, not an investment property, right? Just like if you're out there, homeowner, would you be looking to pull the trigger right now, or would you be patient a little bit?
I mean, I wouldn't be timid about pulling the trigger because the right house is still priced right, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I wouldn't pull the trigger on everything that comes across on the MLS. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, if you've got a good agent that you trust, that is your actual fiduciary. Now, let me explain that there's some agents out there that are working for that commission check, and there's some agents out there that are working for that relationship.
Right.
You need to be an agent that's working for a relationship, not a commission check. But if you've got a good agent out there that's your fiduciary, then they're giving you good advice on what you need to do in order to maximize your position, and this is the perfect house, and this has good comps and solid underpinning, then financially speaking, solid underpinning. And we're not talking about mobiles exactly, but if it makes sense, I don't think that you're going to be putting yourself at high risk, again, because I don't think that there's going to be like this huge correction in the market that's going to happen. I think that the things that are good, and especially in a boom town like ours, I think that they're going to hold value.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome, man. Well, appreciate taking the time and delving all the different topics that we touched about. It was super insightful, and hope we can connect again sometime in the near future.
That'd be great, man. And if anybody wants to hear more about it, please come check us out at KW Elite South. I'm the productivity coach down here, so we'd love to talk to you about kind of taking your business to the next level.
What's the social media or anything?
So we have a Facebook site. The KW Elite South Facebook site is it's a closed group, but you can find me at my contact info, and I'll be more than happy. It's blakesellshouses@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to kind of hit you back with all the information that we have.
Cool. We'll make sure to include that in the notes and everything.
That'd be great.
Awesome. All right, there you have it, you guys. That's what you need to know to, once you're running around, now you got the traction. Now you know what the next steps are. So thanks so much for joining us. See you all next week. As a quick reminder, when this comes out tomorrow is our monthly meetup there at Archetype Brewing. So hope to see everybody there, 5:30. Looking forward to it, you all. Have a good week. Take care.